back, everyone! Let's help our bees get their sugar fix. Making sure to cover up, get your protective gear together, and let's get started. This feeder comes with 4 items: a base, lid, and 2 ladders. Fold the ladder, placing the notches on top of their designated holes. If you're struggling like I did to button it up, let's go ahead and use a set of pliers. We want to reinforce and make sure it won't come apart. So when your bees are inside the feeder, they can use this ladder to climb out to safety. And here's the end product. Here's a quick recap on how to put the ladder together. Grab your lid and flip it to the underside. Each ladder is designed with a guide that you slide through the lid. Gently squeeze the ladder into the hole, making sure that the guides align, and adjust as needed. Here's what it looks like so far. Using the grooves under the lid, let's go ahead and secure it to the base. Slide the ladders with the lid into the base, making sure that everything fits as needed. Using those little side clips, as well as the grooves under the lid, push down until you hear a little click, indicating that the lid has been attached to the base. Here's what we're working with so far. The top side of my plastic bee feeder is a little warped, so it took a little bit of time attaching the lid to the base. And I present to you the final product. Making our personal mixture of sugar and water to insert into the feeder. Bring rubber bands for our next step. Let's prep our smoker by inserting canvas. Finish gearing up and we're ready for the beehive. To calm the bees, go ahead and light up your canvas and let's start that smoker. Find the entrance to your beehive and gently insert the smoke. As novice beekeepers, it's our first time inspecting the hive after rehoming the bees about 2 weeks ago. We were informed that it's easier to take out the side panels first when inspecting a beehive. Even then, you can see that there's no activity or beeswax on the second tier, which made inserting the bee feeder so much easier. With the bee feeder in place, let's move on to our next mission, finding the bees. Let's keep the little bee colony calm. Following through with the previous advice, we started with the side panel furthest from the bees, as it would be easier to take out. Our next mission is to organize their beeswax onto the frames, since we lack the materials to do so when we rehome them into this bee box. Grab your rubber bands and stretch them over your frames, as many as you need, in no particular order. Now for the hard part. Taking your serrated knife, separate the honeycombs by gently carving at them, while trying your best to not harm the bees. We need the honeycomb to be as bee-less as possible, so give your honeycomb a couple love taps to spill your bees back into their box. Your bees are most likely irritated. Let's give them a little smoking just to keep them calm. Being very gentle, we're going to puzzle piece these honeycombs into the frames using the rubber bands to keep them in place. Continue the first steps until your honeycombs have been strategically aligned in their empty frames. beehives are so interesting. When we pulled this piece, we saw these little baby bee heads popping out. That being said, we carefully puzzle these pieces in. After getting our very first frame situated, we readjusted the rubber bands as needed to properly secure the honeycombs in place. Follow the previous steps until all of the honeycombs have been properly framed. As you can tell, the honeycomb is very disorganized. So when it comes time for us to inspect the hive, it's going to be extremely difficult to pull the frames apart without adding too much trauma to the honeycomb itself. I want to emphasize that every little bit that we can save is less work for the bees. So every piece counts. Finally reaching the heart of the honeycomb, it's an understatement to say that I was super nervous. The honeycomb was so well stuck together that I truly did fear hurting any of the bees. But with my partner by my side, he was able to smoke the bees out of the direction of the knife. And so, with a clear path, I was able to start slicing at the honeycomb. First extraction complete. This being a piece of the heart of the honeycomb, there is a lot of bees at work. As you can see, they were so focused on their job that I had to gently brush them off the honeycomb back into their box. And we gained another piece of the puzzle. Now keep in mind, the first and second brooder boxes are honey specifically for the bees to survive on during the winter season. So back in the box these pieces go. Here's a continuation of the process. Enjoy! We did notice during this whole process that the bees were really relaxed around us. At first I thought it was the smoke, but it got to a point where we forgot to smoke them and they were just there. To my understanding, bees do recognize faces, so maybe they realized that we're trying to help them out. Or it could just be wishful thinking. When we started moving them into this beehive, they were such an aggressive buzz. But now, as you can tell from their movements on the top right corner, they're pretty calm. When pulling out the final piece, we couldn't help but notice that there's larvae on this honeycomb. To my understanding, this larvae will develop into one of several queen bees that the hive has developed. Bee colonies can only have one queen bee, so when the queens start hatching, they'll have to fight to literal death, and the victor will be the queen of the hive. As you can see, here is another set of 2 queen bee larvae. Putting in the final piece, we decided to put the bee feeder into the first brooder box. As we're preparing to put the second brooder on top, we wanted to go ahead and gently brush the bees back into the first brooder box so that nobody got injured when placing the second one on top. And now for the final touches. Placing the queen excluder back on top of the second brooder box, we wanted to make sure that the queen, if she decides to, won't get the chance to enter the super box. And that completes another day of saving the bees. Thanks for watching! Okay. You want to look at the screen and get an idea of how far your arm should go? This side, and this side. Okay, ready? Alright, let me know if I'm in frame.
Yeah, fine.
Then, actually then,